Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Annie Thompson-Bert for Raisin Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We welcome you this kind of overcast, rainy Palm Sunday. I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to attach down below on our page the content of our recent church bulletin that was sent out by email last Sunday, so that you can see about the changes and some of the plans that we want to get going once our friend COVID clears town. So we'll begin with that was the announcements. We'll begin with the chalice lighting. Every endeavor begins with a first step and encounters difficulty and darkness along the way. We know the darkness of ignorance, of fear, of tyranny. Yet we know the dawning of the light and the beginnings of hope and the renewal of life. Blessed be the eternal power which inspires us to kindle this light. Blessed be the source of light and life. I'm going to read, our reading for today is a poem from UU Worship Web. It's by David Rankin, and it's called Waving the Palms. Palm Sunday is found whenever we are serving a noble and unpopular cause with selfless devotion, holding to ideals of truth and justice. Whenever we are seeking to uplift the fallen, to comfort the brokenhearted, to strengthen and encourage the weak and hopeless. Whenever we are working bravely and persistently in the face of abuse and criticism to establish more equitable relations in the world. Whenever we are sacrificing our lives in behalf of what we believe to be the service of the love of all humanity. That is Palm Sunday. I have to go off and sip here. My mouth was very dry. Excuse me. This is our sermon for today, and it's called Singing Hosannas, Our Hearts Bring the Holiness. I was visiting Southern California many Palm Sundays ago, and I noticed there was an advertisement for a mega church which touted 10,000 members, and they were going to have a reenactment of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem in a gala Palm Sunday celebration. And there was going to be a donkey carrying a blonde, blue-eyed reenactor Jesus through cheering throngs of reenactor Jerusalem residents who would throw down their palm fronds and old jackets to pave the way for Jesus' ride. Everyone was to cheer and to cry out Hosanna in celebration, but I thought to myself, hey, wait a minute, did Jesus and the disciples in the know feel like celebrating? Jerusalem at the start of the first century had about 80,000 people on any given day. But the day Jesus arrived and with the disciples marked the beginning of Passover, so the population of that city was probably quadrupled. The Roman guards and priests both had a stake in keeping the population under control, and they didn't need any reason to crack down on anything that might look suspicious. Detainment, torture, and even crucifixion were commonly practiced by the Romans to control the Jewish population from acting out or forming actions against them. And if you lived around that time, you would have known to be extra careful. Certainly the disciples would have known, and Jesus knew. The New Testament says that while on the road to Jerusalem, Jesus took the 12 disciples aside and began to speak frankly about the events that were going to go down. He told them about his impending arrest, told them he would be turned over to the ranking priests and Roman authorities, that they would argue over his fate, they would taunt him, ridicule him, spit on him, flog, beat him, drag him through the streets, and ultimately crucify him. And he told them, "The cup from which I am drinking, you'll be drinking, and the baptism I will be undergoing, you will also undergo." But in spite of this, the disciples joined with the crowds in laying down their cloaks and shouted Hosanna right along with them, and did not turn from the support of Jesus. But there had to be pausing at Jesus' predictions. Hosanna from the Hebrew, when I grew up in the Erie United Methodist Church, Hosanna was only explained to us as having one meaning, a praise and an exaltation. But Hosanna from the Hebrew is also a plea for help. Save us now, or save, I pray. That is the early Semitic interpretation. It's often, the disciples, like other people of their time, felt the tyranny of the times and felt themselves to be powerless to great change. Perhaps they were ready, each ready to trade their ordinary lives of fear and dissatisfaction with the way things are for a life less ordinary. 2,000 years later, this is still true. Excuse me. Any one of us can look around at our personal circumstances or the course of national and world events and feel the challenge is pressing in on us. And if we're really honest, we probably feel some of that yearning that the disciples must have felt. The yearning for a leader who could change our current tribulation into triumph. We still search for a leader like a Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi or Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, a sage, a seer, a clergy person who can change that daily grind of hopelessness that we often feel into some kind of palpable hope. When the disciples got close to the city, they knew the danger. They had heard the premonition. They could see the nervousness of the authorities. And as Jesus got up on the donkey and the cloaks and the palms began to line the street, and the voices started to rise up, 3 choices for the disciples became pretty obvious. Number 1, they could maintain the status quo and save their hides and turn and walk away. Number 2, they could just stay and watch the parade go by, kind of passively. Or 3, they could lay down their cloaks, steady the donkey, and clear the way for Jesus and sing for all they were worth. These were not easy choices. Sure, it's sometimes okay just to stand and watch, to pay attention and learn from the holy as it passes by. But sometimes our greatest regrets in life come from listening to the voices of fear and following their call to safe and ordinary lives, instead of following the call to a life less ordinary. It's much more common to wake up one day wishing a voice would beckon us to that place where sparks fly, where our commitments to the world's deep need come together. That's why this Palm Sunday sermon is about the third choice, the choice to remove our cloak, to lay down palms, to steady those around us, to sing out. This sermon is about those ordinary things, doing them even in the face of discomfort. It's about choosing to follow what calls us even through danger and suffering that have been foretold. This sermon is about what the disciples faced and what we all face to live in if we choose a life less ordinary. Right now, we battle the biggest health crisis of our lifetimes. Rampant injustices, voter suppression, climate collapse, explosive racial reckonings, suffering immigrants, and economic chaos. We hope for a Jesus, or Martin Luther King, or Gandhi, or some effective visionary to ride down into town and inspire and potentiate change. We cannot just bring our hope to these situations. We must act directly to make the way clear for these things, to heal and thrive in our daily lives, our institutions, and the halls of power. We've cried, Hosanna, in recent elections, or help us, save us, and we may be inspired or encouraged by some great leader, hopefully great leader, but it is ultimately us that fuels the change. As Gandhi said, we must be the change that we wish to see in the world. Our joint belief in peace and justice and our working toward these becomes holy. So today we pick up our palms and proclaim Hosanna in our hearts. We lay down our cloaks upon the road for each other and make the way clear for the work that we must do to help save ourselves. We extinguish the chalice today as we do normally. Sorry, I have to get my paper. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. Thank you for joining us today. I see that I got under the 15 minutes from YouTube. That feels good. I hope you have a fine week. Peace be with you all, and a good Sunday. Bye-bye.